diversify the voices. You know, if a youth is going to be a change maker.
Welcome to another episode of Tea with We. Thank you so much, teammates. Today I have someone very special who's a politician, entrepreneur, filmmaker, artist, community advocate, and so many things more. Please welcome, in the honor of Black History Month, one and only Andre Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I feel so excited to be here, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you so much for being my guest. I know you're like a big personality who has so many things going on, so thank you so much for making time.
For sure.
Yeah. So tell us about yourself. I know I always ask all my guests this question, and they're like, "What?"
Yeah, sure, no problem. So my name is Andre Anderson. I'm a 10th generation African Nova Scotian. I am an artist. I am a filmmaker. I'm a writer. I'm a business major. I'm an entrepreneur. Those are kind of the main things, and I do my best to try to blend those together. So currently, I have founded a film production company called Anderson Films Inc. And it's great because I get to run it as a business and learn all the business aspects, but I also get to do all the artistic things as well. And so yeah, I like to consider myself as somebody who's multifaceted, and I try to channel those different avenues into um, more of a shared path.
Yeah, that's amazing. Andre, how do you manage to do so many things together? Like, you do so many things which are very different sometimes. I know entrepreneurship, filmmaking, production can go a little bit together, but then politics and all of that, does it not get like very stressful for you?
Thank you for that question. And somebody actually asked me that question, and I gave them an answer, and the answer that I gave was that I think for me the biggest thing that helps me is that I look at myself on a long timeline. Like a lot of the work I do, especially in community work, which is primarily most of the work that I do, I'm not trying to do one project in a week or like one project in a month or oftentimes sometimes in 6 months, but really I'm trying to make a difference over the next decade or longer. And when I keep that in mind, it kind of gives me a little bit of ease in terms of balancing so many things, but I don't look at them all as due on Friday. I look at them as um, a gift that I get to do this activity over a long period of time. And when I get, a little bored of one thing, I can step into something else and bring a new energy into that. And then when I kind of fade a bit to that, then I can step into something else and do, more energy into that. And that's kind of the lifestyle I prefer to live, to be honest. I like to be busy, and I like to diversify my hobbies.
Andre, tell us about a little bit. You know, we all like as immigrants, as like people of color, we read about Black History Month or diversification and all of that, but I don't think everyone really has the awareness why we need a Black History Month or why do we have this month?
Yeah, sure. Great question. So, I think right away I have to acknowledge, just because it's something that I live, with, is that I really do celebrate Black History every day. Like that's a big thing for me. So I think that's where we're trying to get to. But I think that the short answer to the question is that there's so much to celebrate.
Yeah.
So because we're blessed that we have so many inventors and scientists and artists and politicians and so many different people in different aspects and succeeding and excelling and carving a path for the future in different avenues, that it only kind of makes sense to give light to these stories
True.
and in a collective way. I think people like to do holidays and months just because it's a good way to get a collective easily.
Yeah, I feel like there shouldn't be just a month, but every single day we should be celebrating Black history because it is so important to understand that we are not making the mistakes that we have made
Mm.
in past. for example, the discrimination or the differentiation and those huge terms. And it is so important, I think, to remind ourselves as well that we all smile in one language. That is one of
Mm.
my favorite quotes.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that one for myself. I think that's great. We all smile in the same language.
I want to ask you, as a person who has been in films, and I am also an artist, so I know how it feels to be a person of color and getting a production company in like North America, especially, and getting a role in it. It feels big. Like, not gonna lie, it
Mm.
feels like, oh wow, like I'm the only, a lot of times I've been on set and I look around and see that I'm the only person of color on set. Do you think this, like this thing, that being the only person of color on set, and sometimes I like give it a second thought, do you think that's just a checkbox or a tokenism, whereas it actually means representation?
So, yeah, thank you for that question as well. I think for this, one thing that a lot of people have heard me say and know me to say is that, a big reason why I started my own production company is because there wasn't enough representation locally in Nova Scotia in the film industry. And so I think that when we have some of these roles, like you said, like we'll have a role and we're like the only person of color on there. Like to me, that really screams that that's not enough,
Yeah.
And so my vision for my company is to make roles for everybody, but really do that, not just say that, but really do that, and also explore different people's backgrounds because sometimes you'll be on set and you'll be playing a person of color, but a key giveaway is that the writer isn't a person of color, so the character might not actually be written that well for you, and then you don't get to actually bring your background to the role. You're just bringing, a surface level awareness to the screen, and so I think for me with my company, what I really try to do too is I'm looking for diverse writers,
Yeah.
so that we can truly have diverse roles.
I completely agree with that. All the Barbie dolls that I've played with as a child have been blonde and white. So clearly, even though the world is changing, the lack of representation is very evident, and we need more people of color to create things. I definitely do like agree with that. So tell us about some political things. Like, how did your interest from acting got into politics? What happened?
Yeah, so with that, it really stemmed honestly just from community work. Like, and by community work, I really mean community listening. Like showing up to events because I enjoy events, especially during February during Black History Month. Like I'm so busy going to all the events that I can and really celebrating people and things like that. And when you show up to these events, one thing you'll notice, at least in Halifax, I can speak to, is that you start to see the same people at all the events.
Yes, it is. Halifax is so small. I go to so many events and I feel like I know everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then you start to build that kind of sense of community. And then once you're connected to that community, you can start to listen to the needs. And a glaring huge need, one of the main needs from the African Nova Scotian community is more authority and more ability to really make fundamental changes in the society that we've developed here. And for me, not necessarily that politics has always been a thing for me, but like for instance, student council was always a thing for me in
Yeah.
grade school. Like I was the co-president, and the grade representative, and on the student advisory council, and that kind of thing. And I learned quickly, how to listen to people, how to empathize with people, and then how to bring people's voices to the table from a young age. And now I just kind of see that avenue of politics. A lot of the skills that I have are very transferable to this space, and inside, deep down, like it feels really good to be in a space that I know I can really make a difference and mean that and do that.
Yeah, so I completely agree with that because student council is the first step. I see a lot of my friends are so passionate, and when I ask them, what do you want to be eventually, their answer is they want to get into a bigger level politics or like community politics, and that's how it starts for everyone.
Yeah.
Talking back about what we were discussing, as a kid, I wanted to be like some politician because I was like, why are women not becoming prime minister, especially in my country? We only had one female prime minister and we never had another. And I was like, Dad, I want to be a prime minister one day. So, do you think with all this going on, politics can actually bring change?
I would say yes, and the rationale for me is something that I carry with me is that I am looking my vision, like for instance with my production company, my vision is to inspire the next generation of filmmakers. And when it comes to politics, my vision for that is shared in that I'm looking to inspire the next generation of politicians. And so it's less for me about trying to reform the current politicians that we have into being different people, but it's about investing in the next generation so that when they get to that seat, then everything will naturally change. And shout out to Trevor Silver. He said a quote to me the other day, and it went something along. He said it better, but it went something along the lines of, "It's easier to build children than to repair broken adults."
That's actually very like that's deep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like that quote reminds me of this quote when the war situation was going on and they were like, give children toys, not weapons. And that resonated with me so much. I was like, because it all starts when you're a kid. It's very hard when an opinion is formed as a kid to change it when you grow up. Tell us about how did you like started your career in politics? Like, what if I want to get into politics one day? How will I start?
Yeah, so for me, I think I think the first thing, oh, sorry. I think the first thing from experience is figuring out which step you want to go, like which direction you want to go, because there's so many different directions in politics. Like, it's not just a politician and they all do the same thing. There's a lot of them that do different things and do things on different levels. And so you have to kind of strategize about where you want to go and how you want to get there. And it starts by saying, okay, where are my options? And so when I first started, like, I didn't know many politicians. I didn't have a big connection. Like, nobody in my family was really a politician. And so I started just on my own for city council.
What were the challenges that you were facing when you were starting?
Yeah, so I think the biggest challenge was just getting, and I learned from this, is getting out the message of why I'm running to a lot of people. Because, I knew why I was running, and when I talked to people one on one, I could talk to them about why I was running. But somebody's aunt who just seen me on TV and doesn't really know me, and I never got to shake her hand, has no idea why I'm running. And I would get that question a lot, a lot. And so I think that in the future, what I'm trying to do is work smart and amplify my message to a wide audience, so that right away we can start the conversation on the right foot.
What is the message that you're trying to give to the audience?
I think the message that I'm trying to give to the audience is, one, like I said, like, invest in youth, because I think that, and I really wanted to say this on the podcast too, regarding politics, is that when if a youth is going to be a change maker, they're looking on a long timeline, because they're going to be here for a long time, and they want to make sure that when they get older, that the world is in a better place. And people who are currently older and might have half the timeline and half that vision to really try to make a change, it's not in their vested interest to influence something for 60 years from now, right? And so a big message I'm trying to give is, give youth a chance. And the second message I'm trying to give is, diversify the voices,
Yes.
because I feel that we've had this, and I'm speaking, in Nova Scotia. That's where I can speak from, as a 10th generation African Nova Scotian. is that we've had the same people making the same decisions for so long, and now we're looking around and we're seeing some things work and a lot of things not work. And so if we want to, have things different, then we have to do things different. And part of that is by bringing more diversity in terms of the voices at the table.
Yeah, my father always says this, that when you build a house and when you're trying to build a house, make sure you buy a good base. And by that, I don't mean building a house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do see where you're going. If we change the youth or invest in youth, the upcoming generation will already become transformational.
Exactly.
Totally.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of people, I think, also youth who are stepping into these roles now, especially from my experience, because I've been working and also a student, and when I lead things, a lot of people, I get it, from like age and all, do not take the youth that seriously sometimes, because they think that, oh, maybe we don't know enough, and like maybe we have not seen that much life. But I think the youth generation deserves a chance to step into roles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and to that point, for people who might say maybe they don't know enough or maybe they're not as experienced, well then let's teach them or let's give them the experience at a young age as we can, so that, like I said, they can start with a long timeline in their mind
Yes.
right away.
I like your message and agenda and everything. How do you want like people to know you as just a person? Like tell us something that we don't see on TV. We don't get to know. We only get to know if like somebody is friends with you or somebody is a close one to you. Who is Andre beside like the politician image and the TV image?
So I think when it all boils down to it, what I strive to be and what I would like people to know me as is simply somebody that is very empathetic. I think that's one of my core strengths, is that I can really talk with people and relate with people and understand people and connect with people on a one-to-one basis. It's not just me talking to an audience all the time. Like I enjoy having these one-on-one discussions, and yeah. And so, what was the other part of the question? Was something that they don't know? Yeah. So the other thing that a lot of people don't know about me, that's big about me, is I'm so much immersed in nature.
You're a nature's person and a
Yeah.
people's person.
Yeah, I'm a nature person and a people
People's
person,
person.
and both those things, I draw energy from both people and nature.
Yeah, true. I feel like Mother Earth gives us so much energy to take from and give away that I love being in nature, but only when it's not brutally cold. All right, so I think you were just in Montreal for something, and you said that you were back on plane listening to my podcast. Thank you. How is it? What were you doing in Montreal?
So I was in Montreal for the National Black Canadian Summit, which is one of the largest gatherings on a national scale for Black leadership um, in the country of the year. And it was my first time at the summit. They did have it in Halifax a few years ago, but I wasn't able to go. So this time was my first time in Montreal, and it was organized by the Michaëlle Jean Foundation. So Michaëlle Jean was a Governor General of Canada back in 2008, and now she runs a foundation that is primarily serving youth, but also serves Black Canadians across the country. And so she put the summit on, and she invested and sponsored a lot of Black youth like myself from across the country to be able to go, because as a youth, it's hard to get the time off work and get the money to go and organize everything and all that stuff. But I'm really blessed to say that they really provided a way for myself and other young leaders to make it to this conference. And there was about 600 youth there, and in total there is over 1,500 delegates at the summit.
And you were a panelist in that conference?
Yeah, I was a panelist. I got to actually show a trailer for one of my documentaries coming up. I got to show the trailer in Montreal to everybody.
What's the name of it? A happy, like,
Oh, yeah, this one. So this one is called Through Our Eyes.
and it's a story of a father and a son.
No, that
No.
was yeah, I know you did your
I'm
homework.
getting-
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
getting-
yeah. Yeah, that was another one. That one is a narrative piece, not a documentary, but like just like a story. But
You do too many things. I'm like,
yeah. But this one is about education. So I was on a panel to speak on education, and I got to show a documentary clip of a project I'm doing about education. And essentially, it's called Through Our Eyes, and it looks at the Halifax school system through the eyes of African Nova Scotians. And I made that because I went to school at a bunch of different schools around Halifax growing up. And I met a lot of different people and I heard a lot of different perspectives. And I wanted to take that concept of different perspectives from the same community and put that on screen. And so that's what the video is about. And I got to then speak on the panel about education. So it was fantastic. I had the best time.
That's really cool. So the audience consisted of like students or something?
Yeah, a lot of educators. There's some students, but there's a lot of educators. There's a lot of there's politicians there. There was a lot of dignitaries. The deputy premier of Manitoba was there. Like a lot of different people were there, and it was really cool because some people actually came up to me. I won't name any names, but like some people from Concordia and some people from big educational Black organizations in Ontario and different people saw my panel and then came out to me after and connected with me and that's what I try to do. I really try to network with people, but it was nice to have people just coming up to me in line.
Yeah, I believe network is net worth. So the more you connect with people, the better it is. I kind of like got like, a FOMO, not like the FOMO. I got a deja vu when you were talking about the student part because I did a play for school children. Like we toured across Nova Scotia to amplify the voices of immigrants and refugees. That show was called Newcomers. And regardless of how many shows or things I have done, that show has been one of my favorite work till date. Not because it was written so beautifully and everything by multiple directors, but multiple writers and directed by Luciana and produced by Halifax Center for Young People. But it's also like when you do these kind of things and when you're trying to combine the power of providing a social message, communicating a social message through art, I just think it's the most beautiful and ultimate combination.
Art is just something that I feel can be so powerful to unite people.
Yes, I feel like art and education are the two most powerful weapons to change the world. I resonate with that so much. I'm like, yes, I'm a big believer in art.
Yeah, well, when this documentary comes out, it's going to be a docu-series. I'll send it to you.
Yes, please. I would love to watch it. And teammates, you gotta watch this documentary. Andre, so I want to ask you this. Do you think that politics somewhere, art we definitely know, but politics is helping to bring a change in the lives of people of color?
So I think that the way that the systems are really set up is that it's one of the few ways that we can make a change. Like we obviously, and for me, I'm an art-based person, so I'm not saying that you can't do art and make a difference, but I'm saying that with politics, there's a way that you can make a difference that way too, and a very concrete difference by actually changing different regulations and changing different laws and changing different awareness on a big level about how we view the society that we live in, and all that comes together with proper leadership.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of look at it. Like, I think because we've had a lot of politics that have kind of put a distaste in some people's mouth, that we've gotten away from looking at people as leaders, and looking at it as leadership. Instead, we're looking at it as a job, right? And so I think that we really need to have people that embody that leadership and bring people along for the ride. And what I mean by that is in my my debut documentary on Senator Wanda Thomas Bernard, she says a lot of great things, but one thing that she says towards the end is that she feels so grateful to bring the voices in at the Senate level.
Yeah.
And that's what it really is about for me. It's not about being the loudest voice. It's about, having the most voices heard.
Yeah, true. I really like that quote. It's not about being the loudest voice, but having the most voices heard, definitely. Do you really think that when you were entering politics and when you were kind of changing a little bit from your journey, which was like producing films, being an artist, and then all of a sudden it was politics, did you get any backlash for that?
Yeah, so thankfully I didn't get too much backlash. Again, like I think the fact that, growing up in school and everything, I was always doing these different clubs and doing these different activities and things like that. So the people who
Had an idea.
know me kind of had
Yeah.
an idea.
Yeah.
And then the people that are in my life today, I talk a lot about issues in the community. Like I really like engaging in those conversations. So they kind of seen the parallels with that. Um, but a lot of times people do kind of get backlash, and I think that is something that we need to really examine because a lot of people have great leadership potential, but they might not have the confidence. And then when they get the confidence, then the confidence is lost by those around them trying to say you don't belong in that space. And so if that's that mindset and attitude that we have, then we're only going to allow a certain type and a certain number of people to actually make it to these political positions. And that's the state that we're in now. So, like I said, I think if we want different results, then we have to look at what we're doing now and then look at what we can do differently in order to get those different results.
True. What it takes, you mentioned a lot about leadership. Who do you think, according to you, who do you think is a good leader, or what it takes to be a good leader?
So, right away, I say empathy for obvious reasons, because if you can't listen to the voices that you're bringing in, then, it's not going to work. I think vision is big. Vision is a word that I've been really taking in with me into 2025 is having vision and foresight and understanding and not always relying on hindsight, and not always failing and then learning and failing and then learning, but, taking a step to really evaluate and then go in the right direction. I think that's a really key thing for leaders. The other thing I would say for leaders is the the big thing I would say for leaders is you have to find a way to get around imposter syndrome because as a
Yes.
leader, your trajectory is that you're constantly going into new doors and new rooms and meeting new people and doing new things.
And making that impression all over again from scratch.
Exactly.
Yes.
So if you don't have a way to right away get that imposter syndrome out, then you're going to deal with it every time you step into a new space.
I think you need that confidence as an individual, as an artist too, because every time you walk in, there's a new set of director, producer, and people to audition you. A lot of times I would be like, oh my God, this is such a big company. I'm going to audition. But then I'm like, it's
Yeah,
fine. Why am
yeah.
I thinking so much? I know my work. I know what I've done.
Hmm.
Yeah. How do you deal with like the fact that, being a people's person also comes with one thing that not everyone's gonna like you. You
Mm.
cannot make everyone happy. How do you deal with that?
Um, Great question. That is something that I think we all that's a lesson that we all learn at some point in our life is that you can't please everybody. Um, I think that one thing that helps me is to remain in the same way that I try to remain grateful as much as I can so that I can keep myself looking in the right directions. I try to appreciate the good that I've done and that I do, so that's what grounds me, and it's not all the things that I haven't done or that you know what I mean. It's like having that appreciation for yourself is what can kind of carry you and to really continuing.
True, I agree. Anytime I feel like, okay, I'm feeling very low, this is not happening right. Either I pray or I just
Mm.
go to my school diaries where I see what all I have achieved and what I'm capable of to not
Exactly.
be in that zone again.
I
Yeah,
find journaling, I should say that journaling is so important
it's
because
so good.
for me, I'm a forgetful person by nature, and so what that means internally is that oftentimes I forget about the work that I do. Like that's why I was saying earlier, I can step into a new role and I'll be completely in that new role and I'll forget about the last role I just had, right? And so journaling allows me to reflect on my thought patterns, throughout the day and throughout the week and throughout the coming months. And then I can look back even from a year's time and see my growth. And by seeing my growth from the past, it allows me to then properly envision the growth that I'll have for the future.
Agreed, definitely. Okay, Andre, thank you so much. We had a nice conversation, but there's a ritual that everybody has to do on Tea with V,
Okay.
and it's gonna be super fun. For that, I'll have to pull out my phone, and so every guest of mine has to say a tongue twister.
Okay, right. Yes, yes. I seen this in the first episode. Okay, I forgot. Okay, but let's do it.
Hey Siri, tell us a tongue twister, but maybe a slightly difficult one because this person is too talented. Lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue. 3 times without stopping.
Okay, can you say it one more time for me?
Yes. To the lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue.
To the lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue. To the lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue. To the lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue.
You nailed it. That was so good.
Thank you. Thank you.
I am not that great with tongue twisters, so this was great. Okay.
Yeah, this was fantastic.
Andre, before we finish our episode or wrap it up, is there anything you want to tell our audience or self-plug anything?
Yes, there is. Okay, are we good?
Really good. Yes.
Okay, so 2 quick plugs.
Do it.
Yeah, the first plug is shout out to my friend Trevor of Trev Clothing.
Trev Clothing. I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually brought something for you actually.
Oh my God! No way.
And I don't know if they can see. It's the Trev logo, and it's just like a keychain. But on the inside, it says what Trev stands for, which is trust, respect, educate, and value. And this is for you.
Thank you so much. This is so cute. Oh my God, this is so sweet. Guys. And Andre also got me flowers. Isn't that so cute?
The second quick plug I have is for my friend Terrence Taylor, who is just a creative. That's the best way to describe Terrence. He's a speaker, he's a coach, he's a youth advocate, but he's and he's very creative. And so, with his card, this is what he looks like.
Oh wow. I love how supportive, how planned and organized you are.
And it's actually a beautiful sweater. I don't know. Anyway, it says change.
Change, yeah.
It says change. And me and him, we had a great conversation the other day about how at the very end of it, one of the big pillars of the reason why we do community work and the reason why we strive for better in general is for change.
That's very thoughtful.
Yeah, it's part of his art series. And so I wanted to just plug that real quick.
Okay, so we love a supportive person and we love a supportive friend like you. Thank you so much for taking our time and being on this podcast. Let's do a little cheers to
Yeah.
end this. Cheers.
Cheers.
See you in the next episode. Bye, teammates.